You've got to say, okay, I'm comfortable that this will be right 80% of the time, or 70% of the time, or 90% of the time, and therefore we'll make a decision based upon this, right?
Yeah, that is
And
exactly right. That's it, right. And I think we've got to bias towards action. And then we should come up with a number, like what percentage of confidence do I need before I'll start moving? And I would put that number around maybe 60 on the low end, depending on how bad it's going to be if I mess up, to maybe up to like 80 or 90% on the high
well,
end, if the
that,
risk is high, you
that's why
know?
I like Colin Powell's 40-70 rule, right? As long as you got 40%, you can make a decision. You can make an educated decision, and if you wait past 70, you're waiting too long.
That probably makes sense. I think I would like to add in how serious the consequence is if you make a mistake, you know?
Yeah, then you would put more time and effort into getting refined numbers and the like. I think there's a level of that to everything, but yeah, I think the idea here is being that we're scientifically trained in our heads, we tend to want to get the one complete answer, and we need to be more biased towards the idea of that's good enough, right? Good enough is so tough, right? The idea of that's good enough, let's go forward. I mean, no, there's always better, and yeah, you're in my I can always make it better. I can always make it better.
You can, but here's the thing though. Here's the trap, because I want to do that too, because I think we're both analytical thinkers. Because the biggest fear of an analyst, at least in my case, is being wrong. So I'm like, if I just spend more time. But here's the problem with that is I'm not smart enough to think of all the possibilities. So I'm like, let's just go ahead and run the experiment. It's going to fail. And it's like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Like the bridge example. They probably never thought of that. Now,
Yeah.
if they waited to control every single variable, that bridge would never have been built, you know?
But what would you hope? And so I don't know where construction science was at that point, right?
Yeah, right.
Maybe that was the time when that would have been learned, or maybe there hadn't been enough scenarios where you were in an area where the wind blew so strong it caused harmonics in materials to play, right?
Yeah,
But the concept of hitting a harmonic that shook apart a building,
yeah.
that's pretty, I would say, pretty non-standard. You wouldn't think of that until kind of late in the process.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'll bet you they knew about harmonics, but they're like, oh, come on, that is such a rare case. You know, Yoda could come down with his lightsaber and cut it in two. It's like, okay, come
Well,
on. Yeah,
I'm assuming, okay, wind has to blow at a certain rate, would set up a harmonic. The chances of the wind blowing at a consistent speed that would cause that harmonic are going to be low. They might have even thought about it and just written it off as a low
they
risk
probably did because
scenario.
they're like, you know, it's just not. And I know there was another case of that where people were walking on the bridge, and when
Well,
they
that was the
walked,
one. So the video you see is he's walking down the center of the bridge,